You have exactly 7 days to spend $500 billion, but buying a few super yachts and private islands won't even make a dent. From hoarding the world's gold reserves to literally running out of things to buy, here is the mind-bending reality of what happens when you try to outspend the global economy. It is a Monday morning when the mysterious notification pops up. There is no sender information or context, just a digital bank receipt alongside a single instruction. $500 billion just hit your personal account. If you burn through the entire balance in a single week, you get to keep it. If you fall short, you simply enjoyed a wild free ride. You read the text twice, launch your mobile bank, and stare at a number with 15 zeros. But there is a catch: the idle cash generates interest. That means an extra 68 million daily, 2.8 million hourly, and 47,000 every 60 seconds. Your countdown officially began the second you opened the message. The conditions are strict. First, gifting is banned. You cannot donate to charities, hand out presents, or wire funds to anyone. This is about acquisition, not generosity. Second, destruction is forbidden, meaning you cannot set the cash on fire or ruin it on purpose. Third, investing is off the table, so dumping funds into stocks or bonds is invalid. Instead, you must legally purchase tangible items, real assets, and actual services. Each spent dollar must secure a physical or legal possession. By 8 a.m., a sharply dressed guy shows up at your house. Carrying a briefcase, this account liaison says he can deliver any required paperwork within 60 minutes. He will visit every single morning, though you will stop noticing him by day 3. You have 7 days, so get ready for some sleepless nights. As the sun rises on day 1, it is time to tackle real estate at 7:00 a.m. Your first move is exactly what any property-hungry buyer would do: hunt down the priciest homes on the global market. You target a $300 million Aspen Ranch, a $200 million Palm Beach waterfront estate, and a $110 million Malibu mansion once owned by a late-night TV host. When you dial the agents, every single one picks up on the first ring. This is the initial perk of having $500 billion. The phone etiquette shifts. Instead of enduring 40-minute hold times, someone eagerly answers before you even consider hanging up. By 9:00 a.m., you are finalizing contracts for 4 estates simultaneously, with a lawyer managing the video calls. These include the Palm Beach and Aspen properties, a French Riviera villa previously owned by Belgian royalty, and a Manhattan penthouse hitting the market again after selling for $238 million years prior. When midday rolls around, your 40-person legal team works across 8 time zones. They secure homes in Hong Kong, Monaco, Singapore, Dubai, London, and Los Angeles. You have not visited these places, and you likely never will. By the time the final paperwork is signed, the appearance of the first 3 houses will be a total blur. As 6:00 p.m. approaches, brokers actually start running out of houses priced over $50 million. Your Los Angeles agent apologetically informs you that Southern California is completely tapped out. You tell him to widen the search area, prompting him to pull up listings in Nevada and Arizona until those states are depleted. By midnight, you have purchased 51 properties spanning 9 nations. Day 1 concludes with $9.2 billion spent, leaving $490.8 billion remaining. Plus, you generated $68 million in interest today alone. Waking up on Tuesday with that $68 million in interest already secured, you dive straight into day 2, luxury goods. You quickly realize a shocking truth: the total worldwide inventory of ultra-high-end items is surprisingly tiny. Your first call goes to Graf Diamonds in London for the hallucination. Priced at $55 million, this masterpiece features 110 carats of colored diamonds. Since only 2 exist, you buy both in just 11 minutes. Next, you systematically conquer the watch market. You connect with private sales teams at Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and Vacheron Constantin, plus a Christie's expert handling off-market pieces. By noon, you have acquired 3 years of Patek Philippe's entire production output, securing enough complex timepieces to fill a museum. Then it is time for cars. You claim the single $18 million Bugatti La Voiture Noire in existence. You also grab the 2 available Rolls-Royce boat tails out of the 3 ever made, at $28 million each. Using an overnight list from your assistant, you buy every available Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut, Pagani Hutra BC, McLaren Speedtail, and limited edition Ferrari on dealer lots. You are buying out entire yearly production runs, assembling the largest rare hypercar collection in recorded history. Moving to jewelry, you stroll into Graf's private showroom and spend what a mid-sized country spends on education annually. The stones are gorgeous, but you stop noticing their beauty after 3 hours. Late afternoon brings rare spirits and fine wines. Sotheby's coordinates a private transfer of their top seller holdings. You scoop up pre-war Burgundy, rare Petrus, and a single cask-strength barrel of 50-year-old Scotch untouched for 2 decades. You buy the entire accessible immediate title market for premium whiskey and wine. By evening, you are buying brands you had never heard of that morning. During the jewelry session, your assistant notes your Patek Philippe complications now outnumber their own museums. The watches sit in an unknown vault you will never enter, quietly gaining value. While investments technically break the rules, nobody specified that hoarding watches counts as investing rather than shopping, so you keep signing. That is the reality of this spending scale. The first purchase feels heavy, but the 10th does not. By the 30th, you sign documents like email receipts, present enough to be accurate, absent enough to feel nothing. This desensitization took just 6 hours. Day 2 ends with $13 billion spent today, $22.2 billion total, and $477.8 billion remaining. Picking up from your previous balance, Day 3 kicks off by tackling aviation and maritime assets. You quickly realize that buying almost every single private jet currently on the global market is actually possible if you push hard enough. While roughly 15,000 pre-owned business planes are listed worldwide at any given moment, you are only interested in the absolute elite tier. You purchase Gulfstream G700s for $65 million each, Bombardier Global 7500s at $60 million, and custom Boeing 787 Flying Palaces for $200 million apiece. Your dedicated team contacts brokers in Fort Lauderdale, London, Geneva, Singapore, and Dubai all at the exact same time. By 10 in the morning, your personal fleet exceeds the combined inventory of the world's 3 largest private charter companies. Pausing briefly to absorb this massive achievement, you pivot straight to the open ocean. With 300 to 500 superyachts typically for sale globally, you exclusively target massive vessels over 80 meters featuring helipads, submarine garages, and 70-person crews. You scroll through the inventory, completely ignoring the fancy boat names, and simply sign the paperwork. By sunset, you own 43 superyachts anchored in Monaco, Miami, the Maldives, and 3 Mediterranean ports your assistant reads off a spreadsheet. Your aide notes that staffing these 43 ships requires a combined workforce of roughly 3,000 crew members. You are now officially a massive maritime employer and will eventually need to figure out how to actually run this operation. That is definitely a problem for another day. Closing out Day 3, you have spent $16.8 billion today. Your total spending hits $39 billion, leaving exactly $461 billion remaining. Moving into Day 4, the focus shifts to aesthetics and endurance, fine art and solid gold. For the art portion, Sabes sets up an exclusive, private gallery walkthrough rather than a traditional auction. You stroll through the space sipping water, with all price labels hidden until you specifically request them. The collection features 47 masterpiece-level pieces, including works by Rothko, Basquiat, and Koons, alongside a Klimt that has been off the market for 2 decades, and a Monet that has multiplied in value 30-fold since 1991. You purchased 26 of the 47 pieces. This choice is not about quality. Rather, your New York-based art consultant, who took a red-eye flight to be there, advises that these specific 26 offer the cleanest ownership records and the quickest transfer speeds. You are not building a personal collection, you are simply clearing high-end inventory. Next comes the gold. You contact top-tier bullion merchants and bank commodities desks, demanding $20 billion in physical, touchable gold bars rather than paper contracts. The banking representatives fall silent, as $20 billion equates to roughly 250 metric tons. Considering the entire world produces about 3,300 tons annually, you are buying 7.5% of the planet's yearly output in one trade. Remarkably, it works. As your orders are fulfilled throughout the afternoon, the market price of gold jumps by 4.1%, You are the massive market anomaly that precious metal brokers will be discussing with clients for a fortnight. Simply by making this purchase, you have slightly enriched every existing gold owner on Earth. Wrapping up day 4, you have spent $28.5 billion, bringing your cumulative total to $67.5 billion, with $432.5 billion left. Day 5 targets raw earthly resources, completely bypassing urban real estate. Since commercial city properties require 30 to 90 days to close, they are off the table. Instead, you focus on rural territories, agricultural zones, forests, mineral claims, and water. Your staff locates premium farming portfolios across Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and 3 neighboring states. Because institutional buyers treat these massive agricultural bundles as standard financial instruments, rapid cash closings are feasible. By early afternoon, you effectively control an expanse of farmland rivaling a minor European country. Next are water rights. In the western United States, water operates as a tradable commodity with distinct legal titles. You acquire agricultural water allocations across California, Arizona, and Colorado, since these titles change hands much quicker than city deeds. By dusk, you dictate the water supply that farming enterprises across 3 states rely upon. Then comes timber. You target privately owned forests in the Pacific Northwest, British Columbia, and Scandinavia. Treating trees as an asset class, the paperwork moves at a rural pace. Your team finalizes 7 massive timber acquisitions before the day ends. Finally, you turn to private islands. With roughly 800 islands on the global market, your staff liaises with agents across 6 continents. As you sign the paperwork and aid calls out the properties, Crab Key in the Bahamas, Lokala in Fiji, a tiny Maldivian atoll, and an unnamed 42-acre Norwegian rock lacking fresh water and requiring boat access. You execute the paperwork for this barren rock with the exact same pen stroke and rapid pace as the Fijian paradise with its private airstrip, despite a $40 million price gap. You successfully purchase all 800 islands. Closing out day 5, you burn through another $20.7 billion. Your grand total now sits at $88.2 billion spent, leaving $411.8 billion remaining. Stepping into day 6, you quickly realize that standard shopping categories are completely exhausted, yet you still have that massive $411.8 billion reserved to deploy. Your portfolio already boasts 43 superyachts, a pair of the rarest watches on Earth, and 51 lavish estates across 9 nations. You also own a record-breaking hypercar fleet, 800 private islands, 250 tons of gold, massive agricultural land, and vital water rights controlling major crops. Clearly, it is time to scale up. A staff member proposes ordering 100 brand new superyachts and paying up front to secure legal ownership. However, when you query top global shipyards about their annual capacity for 80-meter vessels, reality hits. Worldwide, they only construct 15 to 20 megaships yearly. This limitation stems from a severe shortage of specialized talent, not funding. Master shipbuilders and naval architects dedicate years to single projects. No financial incentive can magically double this workforce. Even if you fully funded 40 ships today, the industry would only deliver for next year, stretching the rest across a decade. Pivoting to digital assets, you direct your crew to aggressively accumulate Bitcoin. The initial billion executes smoothly, followed by the second and third. But once filled orders hit $5 billion, the value skyrockets 22%. You are no longer just buying crypto, your massive purchasing power dictates the entire market. Since every extra dollar yields fewer coins at inflated rates, you cap spending at $10 billion. Meanwhile, financial broadcasters frantically report on mysterious trading surges, unaware you are the sole driver. Next, you target maritime shipping, snapping up every available pre-owned tanker, bulk carrier, and container ship accepting instant cash. This grants you total command of a decentralized, worldwide commercial fleet. Seeking a different thrill, you tackle high roller tables in Monaco, Macau, and Las Vegas. After reserving exclusive VIP suites across 3 continents, you face veteran dealers. You drop hand after hand, maintaining the stoic demeanor used when closing property deals. Your calm losing streak prompts a floor manager to politely suggest a maximum bet size. When the night concludes, you have intentionally dropped an astronomical sum, entirely detached from the emotional devastation such a loss normally causes. Finally, you leverage your new ships for physical commodities. Instead of paper contracts, you arrange actual physical delivery of crude oil futures. This logistical masterpiece demands coordination with harbor officials in 4 nations, resulting in a $2 billion purchase of real petroleum for your fleet. As day 6 wraps up, you burned through another $16 billion. Cumulative spending reaches $104.2 billion, leaving $395.8 billion remaining. Picking up with that $8 billion remaining from our last push, we hit day 7. It is Sunday, the grand finale, with a staggering $395 billion still left to spend. Today is about kicking down every shut door. First up is military gear. You instruct your lawyers to buy top-tier fighter jets. Almost instantly, you get shut down. International arms rules strictly forbid selling advanced weaponry to private citizens. Your wealth does not grant a pass. Legal boundaries are not price tags you can outbid, they are rigid categories. Getting an F-35 or Eurofighter Typhoon is off the table. They are simply unavailable for any amount of cash. You pivot to retired gear, hunting for vintage tanks, stripped-down planes, and surplus from minor countries. The worldwide market for this only totals about $500 million. You purchase the entire inventory, instantly commanding a completely harmless army. Next, you look to the stars. A private SpaceX orbital flight costs roughly $200 million. Cash is not the roadblock, the calendar is. Astronauts need at least half a year of intense prep, including health checks and simulations. You cannot pay to skip this. Human biology and orbital physics do not care about your bank account. You can fund the rocket today, but you cannot launch it this week. What about professional sports? An NFL team costs $4 billion to $8 billion. However, buying one requires a majority vote from the league's owners. That hurdle takes at least 6 months to clear, ruining your 7-day deadline. Taking over public corporations hits a similar wall. Securities regulations mandate SEC filings whenever you grab over 5% of a traded business. A proper tender offer demands a minimum of 20 business days. Bigger checks do not make the legal system speed up. Then there are nuclear submarines. These are strictly banned from being sold to private citizens, corporations, or anyone outside a recognized government. This is a hard, non-negotiable fact. As Sunday night arrives, you have explored every market, dumping leftover cash into military surplus and miscellaneous goods. A few opportunities worked, but most failed. Those closed doors were not locked due to a lack of funds. You always had enough cash. Instead, the locks were forged from different elements: legal red tape, time, physics, and labor. None of these care about your net worth. That wraps up day 7. You spent $2.9 billion on military surplus and miscellaneous items. After a full week, your total spent sits at $107.1 billion. That leaves a final balance of $392.9 billion. Let's examine the massive ripple effect your shopping spree caused across the global economy. Over a single week, you burned through $17.1 billion, leaving a leftover balance of $392.9 billion. But what exactly happened to the world while you were swiping your card? The property landscapes in Monaco, Aspen, and Palm Beach completely shifted. Inside a mere 48 hours, you snapped up most of the ultra-luxury homes in those areas. Because the housing supply suddenly shrank, price tags on leftover properties jumped by 12 to 20%. Agents not on your payroll frantically dialed your representatives just to figure out what was going on. Your buying spree single-handedly dictated the market's direction. The precious metals sector spiked by 4.1% in just one afternoon. This single price jump handed roughly $17 billion in fresh wealth to existing gold holders. Anyone holding the metal before you started buying saw their net worth climb just because you arrived. You didn't gain from this surge, but every prior owner certainly did. Bitcoin surged 26% while you were actively buying before eventually pulling back. The price action was so bizarre that 3 massive bank trading desks published reports trying to explain the anomaly. Naturally, you were the anomaly. Up in the skies, the high-end private jet sector completely dried up. Brokers handling requests for Global 7500s and Gulfstream G700s are turning away clients because you bought every top-tier aircraft. The private island sector is essentially dead, since you now possess every single one previously listed. Furthermore, you control the water rights across 3 U.S. states. Farming operations relying on those allocations must now strike deals directly with your estate managers. Finally, we arrive at the most crucial statistic. During your 7-day quest to drop $17 billion, the cash you couldn't spend generated about $64 million in daily interest. Even as your balance shrank, total interest accumulated over the week reached approximately $430 million. You blew through $17 billion, yet the leftover cash passively generated $430 million while you tried to empty your accounts. After factoring in every purchase, your final net worth is actually higher than it was on day one. Just let that reality sink in. So, what did this wild 7-day experiment actually prove? When buying physical items, liquid investments, and properties with instant title transfers using pure cash, the global limit maxes out at roughly $100 to $110 billion over a single week. Any asset beyond that threshold simply takes too long to acquire, isn't legally available for private ownership, or experiences such massive price spikes during the purchase that the deal completely defeats itself. Our global economy isn't designed to swallow $500 billion in a few days or even all at once. Instead, the system gradually builds wealth through quiet, compounding structures like trusts and holding companies, passing down generational riches without ever forcing a massive sell-off. The ultra-rich don't hold back spending because they lack creative ideas, they simply run out of available things to buy way before they run out of cash. Meanwhile, all that unspent money keeps generating passive income around the clock, and those investment returns easily outpace any possible shopping spree. That exact difference between the market spending capacity and endless wealth generation is the true engine of extreme riches. When the clock finally struck midnight on Sunday to end the challenge, you had successfully spent $107 billion. You now possess everything on Earth that can be acquired with cash in a single week, yet you are still sitting on a massive $392.9 billion fortune. And incredibly, that relentless wealth engine is still running.